1 year after the alien armada arrived in Earth's solar system, the final repaired ship prepared to leave. The massive vessel, nicknamed Last Wanderer by the human repair crews, floated above Earth like a shining silver star. Captain Eric Daniels watched from the bridge of the USS Liberty, Earth's first true starship built with Confederation technology. The Liberty was humanity's newest pride, a perfect blend of human creativity and alien precision. "Hard to believe it's been a year," said Ryan Peters, now his first officer. Ryan's uniform was new, featuring both Earth and Confederation insignia. Eric nodded. "A year ago we thought we were alone in the universe. Now we're about to take our place in a galactic community." The Liberty was a beautiful ship. Its hull gleamed in the sunlight as it orbited Earth alongside the Last Wanderer. Inside, human and alien technology worked together seamlessly. The crew, too, was a mix, mostly humans but with a dozen Confederation advisors to help with the transition. "Captain Admiral Kavex is hailing us," said Communications Officer Olivia Wright from her station. "Put them through," Eric replied. Admiral Kavex appeared on the main screen. The alien looked healthier than when they first arrived, their blue skin now vibrant and their eyes clear. "Captain Daniels, are you ready to escort us home? The Last Wanderer is prepared for the jump to light speed." Eric smiled. "We're ready, Admiral. The Liberty is fully operational and eager for her maiden voyage." Kavex's expression shifted to what Eric had learned was a smile. "Then let us begin the journey. My people are anxious to share the story of Earth with the rest of the Confederation." As the two ships moved away from Earth, people around the world watched on screens and through telescopes. In homes, schools, and public squares, humans gazed up at the sky and waved goodbye to friends they had never expected to make. In her apartment in Houston, engineer Samantha Collins watched the live broadcast with tears in her eyes. Her coffee table was covered with job offers from companies using the new technologies developed during the rescue. She had already accepted a position with the new Earth Space Agency, preparing for humanity's expansion to the stars. "They made it," she whispered to herself. "We actually did the impossible." Across the globe, others who had worked on the rescue operation shared similar moments of pride. Factory workers who had manufactured alien parts, farmers who had grown food for alien bodies, doctors who had treated alien illnesses, all watched as their efforts culminated in this historic departure. The Liberty and the Last Wanderer activated their engines simultaneously. Blue-orange light flared as the hybrid propulsion systems engaged. Within moments, the ships vanished into the darkness of space, beginning their journey to the heart of the Confederation. 2 weeks later, on the Confederation capital world of Luminera, the governing council gathered in their grand chamber. The massive room, with its crystal ceiling showing the stars above, had hosted debates for 10,000 years. Today, it would hear something entirely new. "The chambers will come to order," announced Counselor Zenith, the eldest of the 12 leaders. "Admiral Kavex will now present their report on the Earth rescue operation." Kavex stood before the council, facing the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The Admiral's uniform displayed new honors, medals granted for the successful return of the lost armada. "Honored counselors," Kavex began, "I stand before you today to report on an unprecedented event. As you know, our exploration fleet was caught in a quantum storm near an unaligned world designated Sol 3, known to its inhabitants as Earth. Kavex activated a holographic display showing the blue planet. At the time, Earth was classified as a developing world, pre-Confederation contact. Their technology was primitive by our standards. They had only achieved limited space travel within their own system. The display changed to show images of the rescue operation. Human engineers working on alien ships, Earth doctors treating alien patients, the massive mobilization of resources. "These humans," Kavex continued, "not only offered to help our stranded fleet, but achieved what our own engineers deemed impossible. They repaired our most advanced technology using methods no Confederation species would have considered." Counselor Alara leaned forward. "Are you suggesting these primitives improved upon our technology?" "I am not suggesting it, Counselor. I am stating it as fact." Kavex changed the display to show technical specifications. Their hybrid propulsion system is now being studied by our top engineers. Their medical techniques have applications we never considered. Their approach to problem solving has opened new avenues of research. Murmurs ran through the council. Some members looked concerned, others intrigued. But the most significant aspect, Kvek said, raising a hand for silence, is not what they did, but why they did it. The Admiral's voice became passionate. In the 50,000 years of Confederation history, no species has provided such extensive aid without expectation of reward. They did not demand territory, technology, or resources in return. They helped simply because they could. Counselor, Zenith stroked his long white beard. This is troubling. A species that acts without self-interest defies our understanding of civilizational development. With respect, Counselor, Kvek replied, perhaps it is our understanding that needs to change. On the Liberty, now docked at the Luminara space station, Captain Eric Daniels prepared for his first official duty as Earth's representative to the Confederation. The ship had completed its 3-week journey without incident, its new engines performing even better than expected. First diplomatic mission, Ryan said as he adjusted Eric's uniform. Nervous? Eric smiled. A little, but after what we've accomplished this past year, I think we're ready for anything. As they walked to the shuttle bay, they passed alien crew members from a dozen different worlds. Each nodded respectfully to the humans, a gesture that would have been unthinkable a year ago when Earth was considered a primitive backwater. Captain, Ryan said quietly, do you think we made the right choice? Joining the Confederation, I mean. We're so new to all this. Eric paused, looking out a viewport at the magnificent city world of Luminara below them. I do. Not because we need them, but because they need us. Us? Ryan looked confused. Yes. They have remarkable technology, vast knowledge, incredible power. But they've forgotten something important about what it means to be civilized, something we reminded them of. Compassion, Ryan said, understanding. Eric nodded. Exactly. As the Liberty's shuttle departed for the surface, news of humanity's achievement spread across the galaxy. Species that had looked down on primitive civilizations began re-evaluating their assumptions. Confederation policies on aid and intervention underwent scrutiny. In schools across 1,000 worlds, the Earth rescue operation became part of the curriculum. Young aliens learned how a planet of primitives had achieved the impossible through creativity, determination, and compassion. And throughout Confederation space, a new phrase entered everyday language. Do it like a human, meaning to tackle impossible problems with creativity and heart. The stranded armada had arrived at Earth by accident, but as Admiral Kvek often remarked in later years, it might have been the most fortunate accident in galactic history. The day the galaxy learned that technological advancement alone does not define a civilization's greatness. Human compassion had shocked the galaxy, and the galaxy would never be the same. And the large meeting room fell silent as Alan Carter walked in. His Blue Earth uniform stood out among the strange bodies and odd clothing of the alien representatives. Alan had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 5 years now. He knew what the other species thought of humans. He could see it in their eyes, or whatever they used for seeing. Ambassador Carter, you are late, said High Minister Zex Valen. The tall, thin alien's skin changed colors as he spoke, flashing from green to purple. His forearms moved in patterns that showed his annoyance. I apologize, Alan said, taking his seat at the round table. Our ship had trouble with its engines. Next to him sat Commander Diane Wells of the USS Horizon. Her back was straight, her face calm, but Alan could tell she was nervous. This was her first council meeting. She would soon learn how the other species looked down on humans. Now that Earth's representative has joined us, we can discuss the approaching darkness, said Matriarch Ilnara. Her body looked like it was made of blue crystal, and it caught the light as she moved. Our sensors have found something moving through space, something that eats stars. Images appeared in the air above the table. A dark cloud moved across the stars. Where it passed, stars disappeared. 3 whole star systems had already been lost. "The readings show it will reach the Orion arm in 5 cycles," said Archon Vril. The old alien's skin hung in loose folds, and his 6 eyes blinked at different times. "We must watch it carefully to learn what it is." Alan leaned forward. "Watch. This thing has eaten 3 star systems already. Shouldn't we try to stop it?" The room grew quiet. Then strange sounds filled the air. Some aliens made clicking sounds with their mouths. Others changed skin colors rapidly. Some vibrated their bodies. Alan knew what this meant. They were laughing at him. "Ambassador Carter," said Matriarch Ilnara, "humans always want to fight everything. This is why we see your kind as primitive. Some dangers cannot be fought. We must study them, understand them, and stay away from them when needed." Commander Wells spoke up. "With respect, Matriarch, staying away means letting it eat populated systems in its path. The colony on Epsilon Eridani would be first." "A sad, but necessary loss for greater knowledge," said Archon Vril. "Your suggestion shows the basic problem with humans. You don't have the patience that true space citizens need." Zexvalin's skin turned a deep blue. "The Council has studied thousands of space events over many ages. We have learned that rushing to action often makes things worse. We will observe this phenomenon and gather data. Then we will meet again to share what we learn. And while you observe," Alan said, trying to keep his voice steady, "millions of people on Epsilon Eridani will die. Your species is too young to understand cosmic balance," said a round alien covered in fur. "Sometimes the few must be sacrificed for the many." "Easy to say when it's not your people being sacrificed," Diane muttered. But only Alan heard her. After 3 more hours of talk, the Council made its decision. They would send ships to observe the dark cloud from a safe distance. They would not try to stop it or change its path. They would not help evacuate the Epsilon Eridani colony. As Alan and Diane left the meeting room, they walked down the long glass hallway of Proxima Station. The space station orbited a red star and served as the meeting place for the 17 species of the Galactic Council. "They're going to let all those people die," Diane said, her hands curled into fists. "They've been around for thousands of years, longer than us," Alan replied. "They think they know better." "They're afraid," Diane said. "They'd rather watch and wait than take a risk. And they call us cowards." It was true. Most alien species saw humans as fearful because they took precautions. Humans built strong ships with backup systems. They wore spacesuits when visiting new planets. They quarantined new life forms before bringing them to Earth. The older species saw these actions as signs of fear. "They call it prudence," Alan said with a bitter smile. "But yes, to them it's cowardice." They reached the docking bay where their small ship waited. The Earth ship looked plain next to the shining vessels of the other species. Human technology was still new, still developing. "What will you tell Earth?" Diane asked as they boarded. Alan sat in the pilot's seat and started the engine. "The truth. The Council won't help. If we want to save Epsilon Eridani, we're on our own." The trip back to Earth took 3 days in hyperspace. Alan spent the time reading reports about the dark cloud. The more he read, the more worried he became. The thing was like nothing anyone had seen before. It seemed to break the laws of physics. It didn't just destroy stars, it changed the space around them. When they reached Earth, a car was waiting to take them straight to the Earth Defense Force headquarters. Deep under the Rocky Mountains, the large complex housed Earth's main defense systems and the offices of military leaders. Admiral Frank Pearson met them at the entrance. His gray hair was cut short, and his face looked tired. "How bad is it?" "Bad," Alan said. "The Council won't help. They think we should observe and learn." Frank's face hardened. "While people die." "Exactly." They walked through security doors to a large room filled with screens and maps. Men and women in uniform moved around, talking quietly and typing on computers. Dr. Olivia Martinez waved them over to her station. Her dark hair was pulled back, and she wore glasses that showed data as she looked at things. "Ambassador Commander, look at this." On her screen, The dark cloud moved slowly across space. Numbers and graphs appeared beside it. "I've been studying the readings the council shared," Olivia said. "This isn't just a natural event. The energy patterns are too regular. There's structure to it." "What are you saying?" Diane asked. "I'm saying it might be artificial, or at least it might be something we can affect." Olivia pushed her glasses up. "I've been running simulations. If we used our new quantum disruptors at these points," she pointed to spots on the cloud's edge, "we might be able to stop it or change its course." "The council specifically said not to interfere," Alan reminded them. "The council isn't responsible for protecting Earth or its colonies," Frank said firmly. "We are." He turned to a young officer. "Lieutenant Miller, call a meeting of the Defense Board and get me a line to President Stevens. We need to make some hard choices." "Yes, sir," the lieutenant said, hurrying away. Frank looked at Alan, Diane, and Olivia. "The council thinks we're cowards for being careful, but there's nothing careful about sitting back and watching people die when you might be able to help." "What are you thinking, Admiral?" Alan asked. "I'm thinking it's time to show the galaxy what humans do when faced with a real threat." Frank's eyes were hard and determined. "We plan, we prepare, and then we act." As alarms began to sound, calling officers to the emergency meeting, Diane looked at the screen showing the dark cloud's path. "They think we're cowards," she said quietly. "Let them think that. While they watch and wait, we'll save our people, and maybe, just maybe, we'll save them too." The underground command center buzzed with activity. Maps and charts covered the walls. Officers rushed back and forth carrying reports. In the center of the room, Admiral Frank Pearson stood watching a large screen that showed the dark cloud moving through space. "Show me the simulation again," he said to Dr. Olivia Martinez. Olivia tapped on her tablet. The screen changed to show 3 small ships approaching the edge of the dark cloud. Bright beams shot from the ships toward specific points on the cloud. At first, nothing happened. Then the cloud's movement slowed. "The quantum disruptors could work," Olivia said. "But the chance of success is only 17%. "That's not very good," said Lieutenant John Miller, looking worried. "It's better than 0, Frank replied. "Which is the chance if we do nothing." The door opened, and Ambassador Alan Carter walked in, followed by Commander Diane Wells. They both looked tired after 3 days of meetings. "How did it go with the president?" Frank asked. Alan sighed. "She's worried. The council sent a message warning Earth not to interfere with the cloud. They say we don't understand the risks." "And what about the risk to Epsilon Eridani?" Diane asked. "Did they mention that?" "They said some sacrifices are necessary for the greater good," Alan replied, his voice bitter. Frank turned back to the screen. "What did President Stevens decide?" "She's giving us the green light," Alan said. "But we have to be careful. If the council finds out we're planning to act against their wishes, they could kick Earth out of the galactic community. Better to be alive and alone than dead with friends," Olivia muttered. Frank nodded. "All right, people. We're moving forward. Operation Firebreak begins now." He turned to a map of the solar system. "We'll need 3 ships, the Newton, the Curie, and the Hawking, each one carrying quantum disruptors. Those ships are still being tested," said a worried officer named Sam Wilson. "They've never been used for a real mission." "No time like the present," Frank replied. "Get them ready in 48 hours. 48 hours? Sam looked shocked. "Sir, the normal prep time is 2 weeks. "We don't have 2 weeks," Frank said firmly. "The cloud is moving faster than we thought. In 10 days it will reach the outer edge of the Epsilon Eridani system." The room fell silent as everyone realized what that meant. Epsilon Eridani was home to nearly 2 million human colonists. If the cloud reached them, they would all die. "I'll tell the crews," Sam said, hurrying away. Diane stepped forward. "I'd like to go on this mission, sir." Frank looked at her for a long moment. "You know the risks? There's a good chance the ships won't come back." "I know," Diane said. "But I can't sit here and watch that colony die." Frank nodded. "All right. You'll be on the Newton with Captain Paul Jacobs. Over the next 2 days, the Earth Defense Force worked around the clock. Scientists loaded the ships with quantum disruptors. Engineers checked and double-checked all systems. The crews said goodbye to their families, not knowing if they would ever see them again. On the morning of the 3rd day, Alan received an urgent message. He rushed to Frank's office. "The council knows," he said without greeting. "Someone told them about Operation Firebreak." Frank looked up from his desk. "How much do they know?" "Everything. They're demanding we stop immediately. They're threatening sanctions against Earth if we proceed." Frank was quiet for a moment. Then he pressed a button on his desk. "Lieutenant Miller, is the fleet ready?" "Yes, sir," came John's voice through the speaker. "Final checks are complete. Order immediate departure," Frank said. "Code Alpha 7. "Sir, that's 8 hours ahead of schedule," John said, sounding surprised. "I'm aware," Frank replied. "Do it now." He turned to Alan. "By the time the council can do anything, our ships will be at the cloud." Alan nodded slowly. "I'll try to smooth things over with them, but they'll be angry." "Let them be angry," Frank said. "We'll be too busy saving lives." At the space dock orbiting Mars, Captain Paul Jacobs of the EDF Newton addressed his crew. 50 men and women stood in rows before him. Among them was Commander Diane Wells. "In 1 hour, we leave on the most important mission humans have ever attempted," Paul said. "What we're about to do has been called impossible by 17 different alien civilizations." He paused, looking at each person. "They've called us reckless. They've called us primitive. But most of all, they've called us cowardly for not accepting fate." Paul's voice grew stronger. "I say it's never cowardly to fight for survival. Humanity didn't come this far to sit back and watch the end approach." A cheer went up from the crew. Their faces showed fear but also determination. As the 3 ships prepared to leave, a strange message came through on a private channel. Face that appeared on the screen wasn't human. It had pale blue skin and large dark eyes. "Captain Jacobs," the alien said in a soft voice. "I am Krelox, junior representative of the Jari Collective." Paul was surprised. The Jari were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They rarely spoke directly to humans. "My superiors don't know I'm contacting you," Krelox continued. "What you plan to do is seen as foolish by my people. But I have studied your species. You often succeed when others think you will fail." The alien's long fingers moved across something off-screen. "I am sending you modified calculations for your quantum disruptors. They may help improve your chances." Paul was silent for a moment, stunned by this unexpected help. "Thank you, Representative. Why are you helping us when your government opposes our mission?" Krelox's large eyes blinked slowly. "Sometimes it takes courage to go against what your own people believe. My studies show that the cloud may be more than just a natural disaster, if you're right about being able to affect it." The alien didn't finish the thought. "Good luck, Captain. The universe may need your human courage more than it realizes." The screen went dark. Paul immediately called Dr. Olivia Martinez on Earth. "Doctor, I'm sending you some new calculations from a Jari scientist. Can you check if they're helpful?" Olivia's excited voice came back 20 minutes later. "These aren't just helpful, they're game-changing. The Jari understand quantum physics at a level we haven't reached yet. With these modifications, our chance of success just jumped to 32%. "That's still not great odds," Paul said. "It's almost twice what we had before," Olivia replied. "And the Jari data suggests something else. The cloud might not be a natural phenomenon. It could be a tear in space-time. If that's true, we're not trying to destroy it. We're trying to repair it." The 3 Earth ships left Mars orbit and moved into formation. As they accelerated to light speed, Paul felt the weight of their mission. 2 million lives depended on their success. And perhaps the respect of the galaxy. The journey would take 4 days. During that time, the crews trained and prepared. The scientists worked to understand the Jari calculations. The engineers modified the quantum disruptors based on the new data. On the Newton, Diane found Paul alone in the observation room, staring at the stars. "Scared?" she asked, standing beside him. Terrified, he admitted. But not of dying. I'm scared of failing. Diane nodded. The aliens think we're doing this because we're too primitive to accept fate. They don't understand. What don't they understand? Paul asked. That accepting the deaths of millions isn't wisdom. It's giving up. Diane's eyes were fierce in the dim light. Humans don't give up, not when there's even a small chance of success. Paul smiled slightly. Maybe that's our greatest strength. Not our technology or our intelligence, just our stubborn refusal to accept defeat. As the ships raced toward the edge of human space, a message arrived from Earth. President Stevens addressed all three crews. You carry with you the hopes of humanity, she said. Whatever happens, know that your courage honors us all. The Council may call us cowards for taking precautions, but the true test of courage is facing danger when it comes, not pretending. It doesn't exist. Go with our gratitude and our prayers. On the fourth day, the ships dropped out of light speed. Ahead of them, filling the view screens, was the dark cloud. It was vast beyond imagining, stretching farther than the eye could see, and at its edges, stars were being pulled in and disappearing. All ships prepare for approach, Paul ordered. Operation Firebreak is now active. The dark cloud filled the view screens on all three ships. It wasn't really a cloud. Up close, it looked like a hole in space itself. Stars near its edges stretched like taffy before disappearing into the darkness. On the bridge of the EDF Newton, Captain Paul Jacobs felt a chill run down his spine. This thing wasn't natural. It felt wrong in a way he couldn't explain. All ships move into triangle position, he ordered. Keep distance at 50,000 kilometers. The three human ships, small against the vastness of space, took their places, around one edge of the dark cloud. They formed a perfect triangle, each ship at one point. On the EDF Curie, Dr. Olivia Martinez watched her instruments with growing worry. She had come along as the lead scientist for the mission. Captain, I'm getting strange readings, she reported. It's not just eating matter, it's changing the basic rules of physics near its edges. Changing them how? Asked Captain Laura Simmons, of the Curie. It's like reality is being rewritten, Olivia said, struggling to find the right words. The quantum foam is reshaping itself. On the EDF Hawking, Captain Susan Rivera listened to this exchange. All ships, prepare quantum disruptors. We'll have one shot at this. The energy needed will burn out our systems whether we succeed or not. Back on the Newton, Engineering Chief Ryan Kelly worked frantically with the Jari calculations. Commander Diane Wells stood beside him, watching the complex numbers and symbols flash across his screen. I don't understand, Ryan said, his voice excited. These alien formulas are changing everything we thought we knew. They're not just improving our aim. They're suggesting we're dealing with a phased dimensional collapse. What does that mean? Diane asked. It means this isn't just an energy anomaly eating stars, Ryan explained. It's a tear between universes, a rip in the fabric of reality. He looked up at her, his eyes wide. We're not trying to destroy it. We're trying to fix a hole between universes. Diane rushed this information to Captain Jacobs. He immediately called the other ships. New plan, he announced. We're reconfiguring the quantum disruptors to work as quantum stabilizers instead. We're not going to attack this thing. We're going to try to stitch it closed. Like closing a wound, Captain, Rivera said thoughtfully. Exactly, Paul replied. Each ship will serve as a point in what Dr. Martinez calls a dimensional suture. We'll pour energy into these precise points and try to strengthen the borders between universes. The crews worked quickly to modify their weapons. This was not what they had trained for, but humans were good at adapting. Within 2 hours, the disruptors had been reconfigured. All ships report ready, Captain, said Lieutenant Lisa Coleman, her fingers dancing across the control panel. Admiral Pearson is on the line from Earth, another officer called out. Frank's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tense but determined. Status report, Captain Jacobs. Paul explained the new plan. Frank listened silently, then nodded. Proceed. And Paul? Good luck. The screen went dark. Paul took a deep breath and looked around at his crew. They were young, scared, but ready. They knew what was at stake. All ships divert all power to the modified stabilizers, he ordered. Fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark. All 3 ships shuddered as massive energy poured through systems never designed for such output. On the Newton, consoles exploded in showers of sparks. The lights flickered and gravity wavered. Hull integrity at 47% and falling, reported Lisa, blood running down her face from a cut on her forehead. We can't keep this up for more than 90 seconds. We only need 60, Paul replied, holding tightly to his chair as the ship groaned around him. Space itself seemed to bend and twist as the 3 human vessels focused their energy beams on specific points around the dark cloud's edge. For several long minutes, nothing seemed to change. The cloud continued to swirl and pull in nearby matter. Then, almost too small to notice at first, the chaotic movement began to slow. It's working, Olivia's excited voice came through the comm system. The dimensional boundaries are getting stronger. Suddenly, without warning, the cloud pulsed. A wave of energy shot outward, slamming into all 3 ships like a giant hand. Emergency systems failed. Power died. For 17 terrifying seconds, all communication between the ships stopped. When some systems came back online, the viewports showed something amazing. Where the destructive cloud had been, there now hung a stable, controlled opening. Its edges glowed with contained energy, but it no longer pulled in nearby matter. We did it, Paul whispered, staring at the transformed phenomenon. We actually did it. But the victory came at a high cost. The Hawking had lost all power and was running on emergency life support only. The Curie reported multiple hull breaches and several crew members injured. The Newton wasn't much better, with engine systems completely burned out. As the crews began emergency repairs, Admiral Pearson's voice came through the damaged communication system. Status report. Mission successful, Admiral, Paul replied, his voice tired but proud. The threat has been neutralized, but we're in bad shape out here. All 3 ships have taken heavy damage. Rescue vessels are already on their way, Frank assured him. They'll reach you in 20 hours. Can you hold out that long? Paul looked around his bridge. Despite the damage and injuries, his crew was working efficiently. Humans were good at surviving difficult situations. We'll manage, sir. What exactly did you do to that thing? Frank asked. Our sensors show it's still there, but it's different. We stabilized it, Paul explained. It was a tear between universes. Now it's more like a controlled doorway. There was a long silence. Then Frank said, A doorway? You mean we could go through it? Theoretically, yes, Paul replied. But I wouldn't recommend it until we've studied it more carefully. On the Curie, Olivia was already doing just that. Despite her injuries, she had her instruments trained on the stabilized rift. Captain Simmons, I'm detecting something strange, she reported. There seems to be some kind of signal coming from the other side of the rift. What kind of signal? Laura asked. It's a pattern, too regular to be natural. Olivia's voice grew excited. I think something on the other side is trying to communicate with us. This news spread quickly through all 3 ships. Despite their exhaustion and injuries, the crews felt a new sense of wonder. They hadn't just prevented a disaster. They might have made first contact with another universe. On the Newton, Diane found Paul in the medical bay, getting a cut on his arm treated. So, she said, sitting beside him, we were supposed to be the cowards who run from danger. Paul smiled tiredly. And instead, we're the ones who fixed a hole in the universe. Do you think the Council will admit they were wrong about us? Diane asked. Probably not, Paul replied. But it doesn't matter. We didn't do this to prove a point. We did it because it was the right thing to do. A junior officer rushed into the medical bay. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from Earth. The news about what we did has spread throughout the Galactic Council. Some of the representatives are demanding to know how we succeeded when their scientists said it was impossible. Paul and Diane exchanged a look. What did Ambassador Carter tell them? Paul asked. He said they're welcome to send scientific teams to study what we did. the officer replied with a grin. He said humans are always happy to teach others about taking action instead of just observing. For the first time in days, Paul laughed. I bet that went over well. As the damaged ships waited for rescue, the crews took turns watching the stabilized rift. It glowed with beautiful colors that shifted and changed. And occasionally patterns of light flickered across its surface, signals from whatever existed on the other side. You know what this means, don't you? Diane said as she and Paul stood in the observation room watching the rift. We've changed everything. Humans won't be seen as newcomers to be ignored anymore. Paul nodded. The species that were too cowardly to accept fate just rewrote it instead. In the distance, the lights of the rescue ships appeared, growing larger as they approached. Help was coming. And when these brave crews returned to Earth, they would bring with them not just the story of their victory, but the beginning of a new chapter in human history. A chapter where humans were no longer the newcomers to be tolerated. They were the species that took action when others only watched. The species that refused to accept what others called inevitable. The species that proved everyone wrong.